So our light body, or what's called the Ka, which is Egyptian for light body, it's a spiritual vehicle for transcendence, but it is also literally part of our encoding in our DNA. So our DNA holds not just our biology, but it holds this spiritual intelligence in light encoded filaments.
In this powerful episode, we're diving into how light is far more than illumination. It's a gateway into deep healing, transformation, and sustained bliss. Our guest, Melissa Minnich, has her master's in consciousness, and she bridges the ancient wisdom with modern day science to reveal how working with your light body can literally reshape your biology, restore your emotional balance, and reconnect you to your highest version of self. By the end of the episode, you'll understand how to activate your body's natural healing intelligence through light. And you'll see yourself from a different, whole new perspective. I'm Dr. Mary, and I invite you to tune in, open your mind, and illuminate your path to transformation.
These filaments are like fiber optics, connecting us to the cosmic truth and divine lineage that we belong to. And when we activate this light encoded filaments, right? So our DNA actually has these receptors for light in it. So when we hear the word like I am light, or we're working towards enlightenment, it's actually not just a spiritual, woo-woo, oh, we're light, but it actually is that our DNA has light filaments in it. It is encoded with light. It has light receptors. So does our DNA. So does our entire body. Our cells produce UV light. And so through that, when we are working towards enlightenment, we're actually working towards creating the lightness in our bodies that scientifically, we're adding more light into our bodies that then allows us to open up what's called our pillar of light. And this awakens our sacred geometry. And have you heard of like biogeometry, or the geometry of our nature? That's everything that's included within our system underneath.
Interesting. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. I hear and I feel what you're saying about the DNA filaments being made up of light filaments. And we've talked about quantum biology on the show before, where we can talk about how the cellular makeup is literally all connected within the physical body. So the cells of your livers can connect with the cells in the tissues of the brain, and can connect with the liver, not only the liver, but the intestinal system and all the other different visceras or systems within the physical body. So how is it with the light filaments within the DNA, whether it be light and crystalline and electromagnetic, is there a photonic emission that you're referring to that is generated within the double helixical formation of the actual DNA structure?
So our bodies have our entire bodies are capable of photosynthesis, photogenic. That's why when we eat plants, right? Plants have that photosynthesis, and is why we need those greens. So it's this idea that we are producing light within our bodies, right? Our cells produce UV light, but we're also harnessing light. So our DNA actually harnesses the light into it to encode information in it. So what we're learning about light in many aspects is light is information, right? So when we go all the way back to what is the quantum field or the unified field and consciousness, we know that first you have the void, or the quantum void, which is full of this energy, right? It looks like it's empty, but it's full of energy, and that energy is a frequency that creates a sound, and that sound creates a geometry, and that geometry creates a light. And so when we look through the lineage of all of these, it is the light is encoded with all of the frequencies, the information, and everything for all space and time, and that information is literally downloaded into our DNA. And so we have access within our own DNA to all of the information of the Akashic, or of the field for all space and time in that space. So our DNA itself is not creating the photonic resonance. It's the cells that do, but we're able to, both through our pineal gland, which it also brings in light, we can bring in that light and then transfer that information in our DNA to information.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, Melissa, you were talking about light being information, and we all agree upon the pineal gland being the ability to process light. It's responsible for our light and dark sleep cycles. It's
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the production of melatonin, and it allows us to be able to sleep. And the conversion of tryptophan and all that good stuff happens within the pineal and the seat of consciousness. So if I heard you say correctly, you said that light is information. Information then gets transmitted into sound and frequency. From the sound and the frequency comes your sacred geometry. Is that the sequence?
Yeah, so it is the field is full of energy, and that
Mm-hmm.
energy has a frequency, and frequency turns into sound. Sound creates
Mm-hmm.
geometry. Have you heard of cymatics, right? Cymatics, when they show that there's a sacred geometry that patterns things, and then through that it produces light. So it's like this like lineage of those things. So when you have light, it goes backwards. There's always sacred geometry within light, and that sacred geometry has codes, it has information, it has those pieces, which also has frequency in it. And so you can go back and forth through that lineage in both of those ways.
Oh, very interesting. I love, and I can't wait to talk more about sacred geometry. But before we get to that point,
Mm,
I'm assuming I'd like to start with some of the foundational practical stuff,
mm.
meaning like how can we access the light body and how can we use it to enhance our physical, emotional, chemical well being?
Hmm.
So, if we are looking for practical, tangible tools, what do you advise?
Right. So what I advise first is working with what I call your pillar of light, which is this central channel that we have that runs in our body. So within our physical system, from our root chakra, which is that the perineum, the buttocks, to the crown, which is where our crown chakra is, we have that seven chakra system that's within us that runs along our spine, where our cerebral spinal fluid flows up. In that is that what we call our central channel, but that also has around it it's called the pillar of light. And that is where we want to start enhancing the energy of our pillar of light. And you can do this through several different ways. We can do breath work, grounding, visualization, and meditations, right? There's an intention. So what we're doing is we're working to open this channel so that it can hold more light. And as we expand that channel, then it becomes a place where we can expand it into our entire light body, the energetics around us. And the reason that we know that this experience like works and how it enhances our abilities for both calmness, for enhancing our connection to God, source, peace, whatever you want to call that, is in if you look at ancient traditions or photographs or paintings of things, you always see these like the halos that are around the saints. That is the representation of that light body, of like that glowingness is this light that we are that ability for us to open up to. So we have this central channel that we can move and start to open, and as the body receives more light, it becomes this bliss consciousness, which is a living frequency for us.
Let's take a brief pause and connect into your breath. Your energy system is a masterpiece. 7 lower chakras are aligned with your central canal, each one influencing different aspects of your life. From the root chakra, connecting you into safety, security, and stability, and into the space of the second chakra, where you can connect into your creativity and your emotional body. Into the solar plexus, where we connect into autonomy and control and confidence. And the space of the heart center, where we lean into compassion for self and forgiveness and love. The fifth energy center, connecting us into the authentic voice that resides within. the sixth energy center known as the third eye, connecting you in with your intuition and your truth. And then the seventh, connecting you in with all levels of consciousness. When you align these energy centers, you will feel truly balanced, vital, and alive. And if you want to understand more about these energetic systems, not just conceptually, but to really embody them in your physical being, then I invite you to join me in the upcoming energetic toolbox. In each of the 12 weeks within this course, you'll receive content that educates you, that gives you the information, but more importantly, provides you with the tools for embodiment and transformation. I'm Dr. Mary. I am a seasoned chiropractor and medical intuitive, and I will be with you every step of the way. So at the end of this episode, you're going to see a QR code that will give you one click away for this exploration and this healing journey of yours.
First, let's go to the question about the central channel and our fields. So we have a toroidal field, right? We have an energetic field that flows through our bodies in this like donut fashion, this toroidal fashion, and that does go with and align down through our chakras and the center of our energy systems. Now, within our own body, that central channel, which is the circuit from our root chakra to our crown chakra, that is our central channel that connects us through entirely down through the earth into the middle of Mother Gaia, through our Earth star into Pachamama, Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, whatever you want to call it, and then up through our systems all the way up into the divine gateway, which is we have the stellar gateway, the divine gateway. So we have a 12 chakra system within our bodies. Some say 15. There's a little bit more. There's some misnomers or some different, but I always work with in the mystery school. We work with the 12 chakra system because it's simple to understand. So this pillar of light, this channel that's going through us, or this central channel, is connected completely all the way up into the God field, all the way up into that divine gateway, and all the way down into Mother Earth. And it's activated through this toroidal field of that comes first down through our systems, bounces into Mother Earth, and then flows back up through us and out the tops of our heads, around and back up through us at the bottom. So that's a toric field or toroidal field of energy. That is not the same as our aura, which is this energetic field that is around us, and it's not the same as our light body. So those energy fields are part of the quantum field or the unified field that are around us, but it's not the same as the light body. Does that help answer the question a little bit?
Yes. And then, so I understand that the toroidal field is different than what you're referring to as the light body is different than what you're referring to as the auric field as well. So you're talking about separate systems there.
Well, obviously everything is interconnected, right? So it's not a completely separate system. It is the light body is part of this entire system, but it's not like the light body is like when you see an auric field, there are 7 layers to your auric field, and you can see the layers of those fields. One is mental, one is emotional. They're connected to these different energetics, and they're also connected to your chakras. When we're saying your light body, it is the encompassing of that entire field all of together. It's not broken up into these different energetics that are connected to each of the chakras. It is actually the illumination of how light you become, and it's something that grows over time the more you are connected into a higher state of consciousness. So it's not necessarily like your toroidal field is always there. It can get distorted because of trauma or different things. Your chakras are always there, but they're shut down. But as you expand into higher states of consciousness and allow yourself to align this pillar of light, your light body grows, and it's what we call your vehicle of ascension. So it's a Merkaba, which is your vehicle of ascension, or your chariot of ascension, is this light body that is around your system. And what happens when you have that is, when you live in a higher state of consciousness, you're able to see, feel, notice things differently in the world. You will open up your intuitive gifts on a deeper level. You'll start to feel and sense things in a different way. And your body can have instantaneous healings through these types of experiences of having this openness in that. But you have your aura, and you have your the auric field, and those seven things are always there. They're not, they don't come and go. Whereas with the light body, it's something that grows around you. And so that's why when I was saying with the spiritual teachers that they show that glow around them, it's because they're at such a level of consciousness, right? The Christ or Buddha consciousness, that they have this glow that could be seen around them at all times. And you'll notice like there are people in the world where you can tell they have like a glow around them, or start to notice this thing. And it's because they actually are literally becoming lighter. They become more light. The body itself becomes less dense, and you actually will become lighter in all sorts of aspects. So it's light body, lighter, and it's light.
Okay, so for the listeners, you mentioned the word Merkaba in relationship to the sacred geometry. And for the listeners who may or may not be familiar with the Merkaba, the best way I can describe it, in your mind's eye, think about a triangle, a multi-dimensional triangle, one triangle pointing upward, and then superimpose a downward-facing triangle going the opposite direction. And so historically, when people look and study Merkaba, there is a spin of the triangles, one going clockwise and the other one going counterclockwise. So there's a lot happening within the Merkaba. So that's what Melissa was referring to in relation to the light body, just so that we're all on the same page. And so are you saying then with the development of the light body, and I understand that the human body, and we've talked about this, listeners, the human body is the most dense of all the energetic systems that we have. Obviously, the tissues are more impact. And so as you go through energetic healing, the physical body, unfortunately, most times is the last to respond. And what Melissa is saying is that as we do the work, as we expand through the light body, that there is a emanation of increased light, with what she's talking about, and also the lightness of the physical body as well. So I think that's fascinating. And then tell us again how the Merkaba is associated, and is it encompassing around us in the light body as we expand our consciousness, that this Merkaba then aligns with the sacred geometry of the earth and sacred geometry of all that supports us in our purpose?
Yeah. So with the Merkaba, imagine that beautiful description that you gave of the Merkaba, and you are standing in the center of it. So you have this tetrahedron. It looks like a star tetrahedron with the pyramid, right? The apex is over your head, and the bottom of the pyramid at that point is going through your hips. And then the same, you have here, the top of the second pyramid is going through at the crux of your shoulders, and the bottom of it is the apex of that one is below your feet, and you are the center of it with your heart right in the center. And as they're spinning around you, think of anything when you think of spinning or movement, right? There's an energetic motion that goes with that, which actually activates your in spiritual intelligence, the intelligence of your entire body. And what happens when you have an activated Merkaba, like with our students, one of the things that we notice is they are able to travel multidimensionally. Through, like, I've had people that get tapped into the Akashic records. They see other parts of lifetimes. They're actually able to travel through like remote viewing, through using this vehicle, this ascension vehicle is what we call it, this chariot of ascension within their own bodies, and it's a consciousness vehicle. So it's not, your physical body is not traveling anywhere, but it allows your consciousness to travel on the filaments of that light, on those codes of light, to gather information from other space and other time, to encode that information into your own system. So you use it as a way to travel, to heal. And we believe to be true, like a lot of times when we hear this ancient wisdom of people that were able to travel in certain ways, it was through this consciousness, through this ability, through their Merkaba or their Merkaba. And this is it is a sacred geometry vehicle. Now, going into sacred geometry on another level, is we have sacred geometry in our bones, in our DNA, in our energetic fields, right? Everything. So when I'm teaching somebody, if there's a way that they want to heal a certain piece or thing or something that's going on that goes beyond just like quantum healing, we can actually create what's called a sigil, or which is a certain type of image that has sacred geometry in it that is encoded with the healing that they're looking for, and we put it into their energetic field. And or if I want to manifest something, we can put these into their energetic field, and it allows for that encoding to come into the field. So what we've been taught and where we've gone right now is we use words for a lot of things. Well, words are very limited. Because what is behind a word? Behind a word is a geometry. Behind a word is a frequency. Well, behind a word is a sound. And so if we can peel away some of these things and go back to the frequency or the geometry of it, we can use that for healing, for manifesting. So sacred geometry is one of the most powerful tools and forms, that and light and sound and frequency, right? I say they're all the medicines of the future for how we can use these things to heal our bodies. And so when we create an alignment, a geometric alignment within our bodies, we align to the actual field, the field of both the Mother Earth, that resonance, which is a 1 megahertz resonance, and we can align our bodies to that, and then that allows us to heal. So a lot of people do plant, there's a lot of big talk about plant medicine these days, and that whole thing. And so one of the things that I talk about with that is a lot of people, when they do plant medicine, when they close their eyes, they see sacred geometry. That's what they see, and what's happening, and what they know to be true in both Nepal and some of these other places was that when you look at mandalas, right? So I have a mandala here on my wall. This is from Nepal. Is they would sit in front of them and they would stare at them, and the sacred geometry would repattern the brain. And so we actually have our students get protractors and they draw sacred geometry. They work with sacred geometry, you put it into your energy fields, and there's certain ways you can use it, and certain symbols like a triangle or a square, different things will work in different ways to work with the body and to heal things. So it's one of a really powerful way to encode our systems, whether it's through light or sacred geometry, to help it to heal.
Lovely. So I'm hearing some tangible, experiential things that the listeners can embrace, and that is surrounding themselves with image of sacred geometry that intuitively aligns with them in order to activate various different coding that may intuitively feel familiar to themselves. Is that one of the things that you recommend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say, so here's a simple one to start with. If you're looking for more stability and grounding in your life, the cube is considered a foundation. It's grounding, it's stability. It works with the root chakra. So you can draw cubes. You can draw the cube and use that as a stabilizing force. You can use it in your meditation. You can see yourself inside of a cube. You can see yourself with the cube in your body, or placing it into your root, or you can draw a cube and stare at it, right? And use that, and it will actually allow, it will give you a sense of more stability and foundation in your system, and that will start being encoded into your light body, into your field. And then therefore, what's within, without, right? As above, so below, if so within, so without, that will then start to show up in your world as more stability and grounding.
I love that. That's very tangible, very practical. We can all do that. So what other tricks, what other tricks do you suggest for the listeners?
Yeah, so one of the other things that I wanted to share was to start working with your central channel, that pillar of light. Is one of the most powerful things that you can do is grounding. So when we're working, especially when it has to do with like a lot of spiritual stuff, and I see people coming in, they're very much up in the ethers. And of course, we want to stay grounded in our bodies. And so one of the first things when we're teaching people how to build that pillar of light is not to go up and find God or source or that light out there somewhere, but first to ground down into Mother Earth. And so simple things that will help you to ground. Obviously, we know Mother Nature, going out, hugging a tree, sitting in the grass, putting your feet in the grass, a grounding mat on your bed. I have a PEMF mat on my bed that every morning, first thing I do is turn it on, roll over and do my meditations on there. But you can also use simple breathing technique and what we call the Mula Bandha lock, that we breathe into the root chakra, into the perineum, into those lower, into that lower area. So you breathe into that pelvic bowl, and you're breathing in, allowing the energy to move around, and you're squeezing at the same time. You're squeezing that lower chakra area, squeezing the buttocks, squeezing the perineum as you're breathing in, and then what you do is you shoot that breath down into Mother Gaia. You shoot it down into the earth and allow for yourself to feel yourself grounding in, like you're growing those roots into the ground. And then you breathe back up, still squeezing and holding. And what this does is it creates a physical sense along with the breath and the energy of that grounding in your system. And that allows you to start to connect in to your body on a deeper basis, because the embodiment is the first step to building your pillar of light and your light body, because we have to be in the body. And I was a body escapist. I was someone who had experienced a lot of sexual trauma. So for me, this was something that it was very profound. And a lot of my energy healing students and things that come to me from like Reiki and all these other practices and stuff, this is the first thing they would do. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. It feels so different when I learn how to ground into my body and be in that. And then from there, I can start to learn how to bring that light up and build that pillar of light in my light body.
Listeners, this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have Melissa on the show, is that she and I speak different languages, but the message is still clear, in that the spiritual bypass, or as Melissa said, did you say physical escapist? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to have to remember that. And so essentially what she's saying is that her human home was not perceived as being safe to her. And so the embodiment techniques was just really grounding the spirit within its human home. And so that's, again, different language, same message. So I really appreciate you validating what we've been talking about on the show. Great minds think alike, but really what it is that experience does show us where the truth lies. And I want to go back to the Mula Bandha lock that you were referring to. And again, this comes from the ancient Vedic sciences and the yogic traditions, where they bind energy within the physical body for cultivation. So what Melissa is talking about is just simply known as, many of you will know it as Kegel exercises, where you pull the vaginal walls up and you contract as if you're trying to stop a stream of urine. And so that forces the awareness into the pelvic bowl, into that area of the first energy center. And Melissa so beautifully stated that, take that energy lock and you combine thought, tension and intention and breath, and releasing it back down to the earth really can allow the pelvis to open up for receiving more of that earth energy and for grounding. So that's a beautiful, beautiful technique. So far, we've learned some really wonderful things. Melissa has given us some tools that we can apply in our daily lives, such as using a cube in the image of it and using that for grounding. She also talked about using energy locks and breath associated with that as well. So I'm digging these tools. I'm absolutely digging them. So are there any others that you would like to share with us at this moment?
I think that my favorite one that's super simple is the other piece we already talked about, grounding and activating that root lock. The other piece is, we all have very closed heart centers, right? Especially as women, we protect our hearts. There's been a lot of, not even just from only this lifetime, but for many lifetimes of being, the heart and the throat chakra are very close, because we were told to be silent. We have to protect our hearts. And so what I love to do is, one of the other pieces in building our pillar of light is connecting the heart and the throat and the pineal gland back together, right? Like allowing for these three pieces to be connected back together. And what happens when you do is, one, there are 1,300 physiological responses that the body makes that actually the body starts healing itself. on like immediately when you start to connect these organs back together. It also sends your body into more of an alpha state so that you feel more relaxed, you feel more peaceful. And so the key is it's a breath. It's a breath of breathing in through the heart, pulling it up and breathing it into the pineal gland, right? Breathing it into that area. But the key of to harmonizing this, and this harmonizes you to the frequencies of Mother Gaia again, is to elicit a feeling within your body, whether it's love or appreciation or gratitude, something that elicits this feeling, harmonizes the heart and the brain together. And then what I like to do with adding in that voice, right, is I like to like tap here, like using the energy of tapping on my throat chakra and speak something of love to myself, and that harmonizes. So I'm doing these things together, harmonizing this. And so then now this is activating these upper chakras, activating this together. And so now I've worked on both ends of my pillar of light. And then if you want, you can find out how to do the entire process in my book. So yeah.
Lovely, lovely. And I do want to talk about your book because you've got a wealth of information that is being shared currently with, the collective. And I want to just make another reference in that this last technique that she was talking about, the synchronization of the heart, the throat, and the pineal, really from a physiological standpoint is leaning the body into more parasympathetics and activating the vagus as well. And Melissa said, well, it will induce an alpha state, and that's just a brainwave frequency that pulls you out of an active mind, if you will, more into a receptive state for accessing your subconscious as well. So beautiful exercises. I appreciate you sharing those with us.